So at this point, you should have your chosen browser in your dock, right? It should be on the left, and that browser should be your default browser that we changed in the system preferences, right? The next thing that you should have done was gone to the browser you've chosen and go to Manage Book. You should have a bookmark of it in your bookmarks bar, but our bookmarks bars are rather packed already, right? So we can see it here. We can modify this. So if we go into the Bookmark Manager, in here we can see the different things in my bookmark bar, right? Because that's the one that's selected. And I can drag this up higher to make it easier to access, right? So now I can easily get there by just clicking. That's not going to be our focus today. Our focus today is actually going to be on creating a Google site. So most of you have probably seen Mr. Maddox at this point, and you've probably done a PJ, right? A process journal. We're going to use a Google site in sort of a similar fashion. So first we need to actually create it. There's a couple different ways that you can get to here. I'm going to show you this way first. So up here, where I type in the URL, I'm going to type in drive.google.com. Right? And then you might have to log in, but once you've logged in, you should have these little dots here. You can click on them, and in there you might see sites. This is what we're looking for. If you don't see it, you might have to click more, right? And hopefully it'll be in here. If you still can't see it or you just can't find it, you can also, for a URL, just type sites.google.com. That works too. Alright, so I'm going to click the one here just to show you it works. It opened it in a new tab, right? So here you can see a few things on mine. Yours probably won't have those. We're not going to mess with this part of Google Sites. This is the older version of Google Sites. There is a newer version of Google Sites, but it's not really very new anymore. It's just newer. So right here where it says new Google Sites, this is what we're going to click on. So go ahead and click on that. And you should see something like this, although you probably don't have all these, right? Yours is probably blank. We're going to make a new one. Even if you have an old one, we're going to make a new one. So if you have an old one, if you don't have an old one, doesn't matter. We're going down here to this little red button to create a new site. This is what you should see now. So we've got a couple different things. We've got sort of our main content pane here, right? And it has a place here for our page title. Down here is where the content, most of the content would go. We've got some buttons up here and then a little menu within the page, right? And then on the right side, we've got this dock here that provides different options, right? That allows us to add stuff to our page, create new pages, change the theme, etc. So for right now, what I want you to do first is change the title. So we're going to keep this fairly informal for our website. You're just going to put your first name, make it possessive, and write PJ. So for example, Sean's, right? So my first name, possessive form, and PJ, right? So no full names. We're not going to use full names. We are on the internet, right? So you want to protect your identity. You don't want to provide information that could let people know who you are, right? So that'll work for right now. We need to give our site a name, right? So if we click here, this will allow us to do that. So I'm going to call it the same thing. And I think that's fine. So over here, I want you to have a text box. So I'm going to click on this, and that will add it right here. So now we have a text box here. And for right now, I'm just going to write just a plain and simple sentence or two. So this Google site will be my PJ for MYP design this year. Alright, that will work for now. And now what I can do is I can click publish. So right now, this is in like edit mode, and I'm the only one who can see it. It's not even really out on the internet, so to speak. So if I hit publish right here, it'll give me a few options. It decided what to write here based on what I wrote there. I could change this, so it could be, I mean, just about anything. Doesn't really matter so much as what it is, as long as I stay within a few restrictions. So it can't be more than 30 characters, so I've used more than 30 characters, right? So now it's happy. I used dashes, it's fine with those, but I can't use spaces. If I try to use spaces, it actually turns them into dashes for me. And then this doesn't like special symbols, right? So if I try to use capitals, it doesn't let me. If I try to use special symbols, they show up, but it says that they won't work, and the publish button goes away. So we're just going to keep it simple. We will just kind of have it match the site name. Now notice that it got rid of the apostrophe when it automatically generated this. That's because that's also a special symbol, right? So lowercase, numbers, dashes only. Now for some of you guys, depending on your name, this might not work. Your URL has to be unique. And if someone else has your name and they type the same thing, it might not work. This right here is going to be what my address is, because then the address would be the same and it wouldn't know which one to go to. Do they go to yours or do they go to the other student who had made it earlier? So it's first come, first serve. So if this doesn't work, you might have to add, maybe change it a little bit. Maybe it says process journal instead, or maybe if you have a nickname, right? So maybe I would change it to Mr. W's process journal or PJ, right? So it just kind of depends. And the more common your name is, the harder it might be to find one. So there are some sharing settings here, right? So this will be published within Spring Branch only. So for someone to see it, they would have to log in with their Spring Branch account. And I think that's fine. So I'm going to go ahead and hit done, tell it to publish. And then you're going to need to post your site's URL in ManageBook. Now, this is the URL up here, and you might be thinking, cool, I just grabbed this, but you don't grab this because we're not on your page right now. This is the editor, right? So this URL up here isn't a link to your page, it's a link to the editor, and only you have permission to access the editor for your page, so I won't be able to see it, and I won't be able to grade it, right? I won't know that you did what you were supposed to do. So if we go back to publish, well, we've already set up those settings, so it doesn't show it to us again. But if we click this little down arrow, which we have now, we can see the settings here, right? And this gives us the web address, or this is where we chose our web address. We could copy it here. That would work. What we can also do is we can go to View Published Sites. That will open a new tab that has my URL in it. Not only that, but then I can actually see how it looks. So instead of viewing the edit way and hoping that it looks the way that I think it does, I can actually go here and see it. So this is my actual site live on the internet. I can stretch it out and see how it looks, make it smaller, see how it looks, etc. You can type this in, and you should be able to go to my site as long as you're logged in Spring Branch, right? So this is the URL that you would grab, and then you need to add it into the task on ManageBook, right? So you can go to your bookmark and go to classes and find our class, right? And then add it into that assignment. So we can see this, creating a Google site, right? And we can click on it. And here we have the directions, paste the URL to your Google site here in the messages. So we can do post new message, and we could grab this URL here, and then here we could paste it in, and this could say Mr. W's Google site URL, right? And that would work. So then we can add message, and then you should see it here. So if I go back to tasks and units and I click here, there it is. So I know it worked. Now, if there's a whole lot here, sometimes you can't always see yours right away because it might show you just the most recent or the first ones, or sometimes it kind of varies. So you can always go to Show All Messages if you think yours should be in there but you don't see it, and then you can hunt for it among all of those. Of course, there's not a whole lot here right now because, well, I'm just creating the assignment now.